Hi, welcome. This is Alan, and I wanted to cover some information that you absolutely have to understand. Your teams absolutely must understand. It is critical that you not only understand this, that you not only comprehend it, but that it becomes real to you. Now, a lot of the time when someone is coming from a situation where they've only ever been an employee and they've never had a business before, especially a business like this where there's no physical location for you to show up to. There's no parking lot. There are not customers just walking in the front door. A virtual type of a business. Sometimes it's just not real to people, even after they decide to get involved, like perhaps you have already. Sometimes people have this vague sort of hope or wish that it will work out or that it will go their way, but they're not quite to the point where it's real to them that this is their business. I mean, this is your business. It's a business, and it's yours. And I would suggest that you treat it like any other business that you would have. If you invested $500,000 to open a restaurant, how would you treat that? You'd have a standard schedule. You'd show up every day at a certain time. You'd work yourself to death because you're building your own fortune instead of someone else's. And the fact is that in this type of profession, especially with the internet being involved now, it's so hands off. And the communication is facilitated in a way that doesn't require really any face-to-face interaction and so forth. Sometimes the degree of how real this is to a new person is not enough. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get you to really look at this and understand that this is your business. This is real. And I've been doing this stuff for 21 years. Matter of fact, this streaming TV type of product, this isn't the first one that I've promoted. The first one that I promoted, my very first month, I earned just shy of $25,000. Now, I'm not telling you you're going to make $25,000. I'm not even hinting that you'll earn anywhere near that. I'm not allowed to do that. And I'll post a required earnings disclosure here and make sure you refer to that because my results are likely not typical. But I'm just trying to get through to you that this is not some vague wish or hope. We have an unbelievable product that people want. They really do want it. If they experience it, if they take the time to go through it, they love it. I haven't heard anybody complain or say this wasn't working well or I didn't like it or anything like that. So you have a very unique opportunity here, and it's probably, unless I spend about an hour and a half going through all these different criteria, it's probably something that most of you are not really going to understand right off the bat. There's a certain culmination of factors. Having a product, for example, that we already know everyone wants because they're already paying way more. Not everybody, but most people, they're already paying way more for a far less quality product, far lower quality product with far less channels and so forth. Those are gimmies. It's like, can I put $100 a month back in your pocket? Well, how are you going to do that? Well, here, watch this 2-minute video. I mean, this is simple, guys. This is the easiest thing that you're going to do. It's the easiest business you're going to do. And I don't say that as an exaggeration or some typical salesperson. I say, mine's the best. Ours is great. It's a no-brainer. Like everybody says this nonsense, but I'm basing it on actual criteria. And when you have a product that is extremely superior to what I'd say 60 to 70% of the population is already paying more for, and in most cases, we save our customers money and give them way more channels and way better quality and more portability and stuff like this. It really is simple. The key to you turning this into something wonderful for yourself, and whether that wonderful means an extra $500 a month or an extra $1,000 a month or an extra $80,000 a month. Again, refer to the earnings disclosure. Whatever your definition of that is, you can make that happen. But this is going to require that we're all on the same page. Our vectors are all aligned. We're all going the same direction. We're all playing the same game by the same rules. And I'll tell you, if you're watching this, it should be before you've gotten into the private team, the exclusive team training and resources site where I show you exactly what to do, and I show you exactly what to do. Now, for a couple years, I've been selling a course on how to do this stuff, right? Because I've been doing this a long time. I'm usually like the number one or the number two guy in any company. At the time of me making this, I just started, so there's people who came in before me who do have more people on their team, but as far as rate of acquiring new customers, I don't think anyone else is even in the same universe as I am right now. And I'm not telling you that to brag or to impress you. I'm telling you that to impress upon you that after 21 years of doing this and building over a dozen companies, this one being the newest one, that I do know what I'm doing. I have this down to a science. There is no guessing. There is no hoping. It's not a theory. It's just as simple as, how do you change the oil in a car? There's a series of steps that you do, and when you're done, the oil has been changed. I mean, it's literally that simple. So any barrier that may come up to you going from where you are now to being very happy with the outcome with this is not going to be a question of, people don't want the product, our comp plan is not good, because our comp plan's wonderful. It's not going to be that, the company's not doing their job. I mean, this company's been paying on time for 20 years. This is a new product, but these guys have been around. It's a family-run business, completely reliable. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff, okay? It's not going to be because all these things you think it might be. The only reason why you or anyone else in your group is not going to achieve whatever you want to achieve with this is going to boil down to you making decisions. Some of you won't even finish watching this video. Some of you join and then you disappear for a month and nobody hears from you, and then a month later you're still broke and you wonder why. You need to engage. You need to get involved. You need to immerse yourself in the education that we're going to provide you on how to do this. Now, it doesn't take that long, but it takes you making a commitment to say, you know what, I'm really going to get this. I'm really going to get this down. I'm really going to understand it so I can apply it. I want to drill it. I want to practice it so I get it totally down so I don't even have to think about it. Just like, when I learned to drive a stick shift, or I learned to play the guitar, or, whatever it is, that thing that you do that you're good at, that you don't even have to think about anymore. If you go back to the very beginning, the very first day, it was kind of tough. And me having been a musician for many years, it's a good analogy because, when you first start learning to play guitar, for example, your finger, you can't even tell what finger you're trying to move. You're just not used to that much of an articulation of one little body part. And sometimes you have to physically grab one finger with the other hand, put that pinky where it's supposed to go and it doesn't want to stay. You just don't have the skills, and it takes practice. Okay. Well, what we do, instead of taking, months, takes an hour or 2 hours to learn it. Okay, a couple hours. Once you learn it, the rest is just you getting to work. The rest is just you getting to work. So let me make this very concise. If you're willing to be coached and follow the instructions, and you're willing to get to work, you're going to get paid. Let me say it again. If you're willing to be coached and you're willing to follow the instructions and you're willing to get to work, you're going to get paid. It's very simple. There's no mystery. There's no guessing. It's not difficult. There's no magical, mystical secret that we're hiding from you about how to do this stuff. It's all very straightforward. It's very simple. I mean, basically, if you can learn to ask 4 questions and get them answered, you're going to win with this. And whether you getting to work means 30 minutes a day, dedicated, focused time promoting, or whether that means an hour per day or 3 hours per day or whatever it is, that's what it is. Will you get more results with more time per day? Obviously, of course, you will. The more work you put in, provided you're doing it properly, the more results you're going to get. This is your business. Let's treat it like a business. Let's not treat it like something to do when I don't have anything else better to do because it's just some hobby I have a mild interest in and I'm happy to watch TV. So maybe one day, if I happen to bump into someone who mentions how much they hate paying for cable, I might mention it. That approach, if that's what you're after, that's okay. If you just want to watch the TV, and be a customer, we love our customers. There's nothing wrong with that. And some people do have that approach. Some people are willing to pay the extra $20 a month just on the off chance they may bump into someone or a buddy may come over and say, hey, what is this? And then they'll refer them. And, maybe over time they'll end up with the free service. That's not who this message is for. Okay. And that's okay if you want to do that. Just let us know ahead of time, right? So we're not like wondering what the hell's going on. Like, why? This message is for those of you who really want to turn this into something. This is your business. So all I'm doing here is I'm trying to help you make this more real to yourself. Now, any business you started, let's say you went and you opened a Subway restaurant. What's the first thing you would do? Well, the first thing you'd do is you'd secure financing. And then you'd have to submit an application and get it approved. You'd have to hire attorneys to read through all the agreements. There'd be a lot of legal back and forth and a lot of legal fees. But once all that was worked out, you would have to put some money in, right? And then what would you do? You'd attend Subway University. And you would learn all this stuff. How do the soda machines work? How do you make the sandwiches? How does the meat come shipped? How do you bake the bread? What temperature does the oven have to be, right? What are the cleanliness standards? What cleaners do you need to what temperature does the freezer have to be? How do you place an order for new supply? There's all this stuff you have to learn. Way more stuff than you're ever going to have to learn to do this. I mean, by 1,000 times. But the point I'm trying to make to you is that would be very real to you. Because you'd be like, oh, dang, I'm scheduled for Subway U. I got a meeting with the attorneys tomorrow. This cost me $10,000. I put $80,000 in here. I had to finance this. You're dealing with banks. It becomes very real very fast. And because you have a big investment in it, you make a decision and you commit to it. And you attack it. And you go, how can we promote? Let's get some flyers. Let's get some coupons. Let's get an ad in the paper. How do we get people out? Let's do a table at the football game, right? I mean, you do everything possible to try to recoup that investment, and hopefully you can do that in the first 3 years. Well, with this, it's $59.95 to start. No big deal. You get awesome TV. It's cheaper than your cable. Sometimes people just don't treat it like a business. And so you need to understand that your productivity, the results that you get, affects everyone else in your group. It's not just you. And I want you to start looking at it. And I realize you haven't been hatted up. You haven't been trained on how to do this yet. We'll get to that very shortly here. But I want you to start looking at it like when you bring new members in who want to build their business, what will you expect of them? What do you want them to do? Understanding that the compensation plan is a team-oriented compensation plan. We get paid based on partly what the group does. Now, at this point, I would assume that you have customer commission, so each customer pays you $10. Each pro business account pays you $15 a month. That's where a lot of people stop with their understanding of this, and that's unfortunate. The fast start is paid on the first month. That's a little bit more. It's 15 and 20 instead of 10 and 15. But then we get into the monthly residual. Guys, the monthly residual and the residual match, that's where most of the money's going to come from if you actually want to build your business. So let's look at the monthly residual. What do we have? It's basically 5%. Once you get to this rank, which doesn't take that long, it's 5% down to infinity or until you hit another rank of the same level. What does that mean? Well, that means if you're an exec and there's nobody under you on your team who is yet an exec, that 5% will go all the way down to infinity. One of these guys becomes an exec, it will pay 5% down until you hit that person. So if they're on level 8, you'll be paid down to through level 7. 1.5% is the same thing. You start getting an extra 1.5% when you get to regional. You see? Now, not including any of the bonuses for ranking up and any of the matching bonuses, because we get a percentage of the check of our team. Not including any of that. If we just look at the residual, you need to understand that your pay and my pay and everyone else's pay is partly, mostly composed, not in the first week, not in the first month, but over time, that is going to be mostly composed of the residual component of the pay plan. If we're doing this right. What does that mean? That means when your people win, you win. The more your people make, the more you make. The more customers your team brings in, the more you make. The more pro accounts your team brings in, the more you make. The more customers and pro business accounts your team brings in, the more I make. And the more the guy who brought me in makes. You get the idea. So understanding that, because sometimes when I get on the phone with a new person, I say, how much do you need to make? Let's say in the next 60 days, how much you want to be making. And they say, well, I'd like to have made $2,000 by that time. And I say, great. Well, what is it you think you have to accomplish to make $2,000? And almost invariably, they say, well, I need to bring in 200 customers. No, you don't. Not even close. If the only compensation were the customer commission, then yes, you'd have to bring in 200 customers. Okay. So let me back up again. Anything that throttles, that squashes, that poses a barrier to you making progress here and expanding your income and building a big organization is going to be the result of your decisions or your lack of work. It's not going to be the result of product problems. It's not going to be the result of management problems. It's not going to be the result of a faulty comp plan. It's not going to be the result of anything other than you not making the decision and the commitment to promote this, to do what we show you to do, and not getting to work. That's it. In other words, if you want to make this happen, you'll make it happen. If you don't want to change your life, you won't do it. You'll either not follow the instructions or you won't get to work. And guys, it's literally that simple. I know it's hard for some people to get this idea that their results depend only and exclusively on what they themselves do. There has to be some other reason. I can't be having this hard of a time in my life and have it be all my fault. Well, we're not talking about fault and blame. We're not talking about making wrong. We're just talking about what creates results. There is nothing outside of you that's going to do it. It's just you. And you have a job to do. And this message isn't just for you, but this is for all the people that you bring in. You remember I said earlier, everyone needs to get this. Everyone on the team. Everyone has a duty. They have an obligation to the team itself. And you have an obligation to yourself and your family to create a better life for your family. I mean, who do you think you are? Not giving your kids and your spouse a much better lifestyle when all you have to do is be coachable and get to work. I mean, the nerve. Are you going to focus more on making excuses or learning what you need to do and getting to work? Maybe for you it takes just 45 minutes to learn exactly what we do, then you're off and running. Maybe for you it takes 3 hours. Maybe you're really slow and it takes half a day. Okay, well, that's whatever it takes. After that, it's just getting to work. And that's where the breakdown is for most people who have trouble. They're just not willing to get to work. They're not determining their own course of action. They're so used to having a boss tell them where to be and when to be there, and if you don't do it, there's a punishment, that they've lost whatever it is that's supposed to be within them, what we would call ambition or motivation or self-determinism, that they just can't seem to get themselves into action. Well, I'm telling you right now, if you learn what we show you to do and you get into action, you're going to win. Period. And let me show you the simplicity of this, because some people think, oh, I have to be so productive. I have to be a rock star. I have to get thousands and thousands of customers. No, you don't. This is very simple. Everyone does a little bit, and we all win. Now, there's a question that you'll learn. This isn't exactly how it's worded, but in the process, we don't explain, we don't present, we don't sell, we don't convince, we don't persuade, we don't argue, we don't take people's answers and use them against them to trick them into some weird word game where they feel like an idiot if they say no. We don't do any of this nonsense. All we do is we sort through people, we see who's interested in looking, and if they are, we send them some info. After the info, we ask them, does it seem like it's not for you, or would you like to move forward? And that's it. It's fast. It's like 30 seconds. This allows you to be able to deal with a lot of people really quickly without having to sell, without learning how to close, without handling objections or any of that stuff that everybody hates to do, that nobody wants to learn, that takes forever to teach them. We've removed all of that. And part of that is the fact of what our product is. We don't have to explain it. They know what TV is. Can I put $100 a month back in your pocket and give you 7,500 more channels than you have now? Would that be all right with you? So part of that is, are you at all open to something? We don't tell people, we don't explain unless they want to know about it. And this is one of the fundamental things you need to learn. If you've never done this thing before, a lot of people in this type of a business, the first thing they do is call up their friends and family and start telling them all about their product. And they don't care. You're wasting time. We don't do that. If you do it right, you will never be explaining the product or the business to anyone. Those explanations are all on video. You'll have the videos. All we do is we ask them, are you open to something like that? So typically the way that I would ask it is, say my friend is a waiter. I might say, hey, Johnny, listen, I know you're waiting tables. I was just kind of wondering, are you married to that forever? Or would you at all be open to looking at a really sensible, simple way of creating another serious income stream? And he's either open to it or he's not. Guys, there's no arguing, there's no convincing, there's no persuading. All we need is an answer to the question. If he's open to it, we say, great, if I put some information in front of you, could you take a look at it right away? Again, he's either willing to or he's not. This is not rocket science. I mean, literally, this process you can learn in a few minutes. So you begin to see right away, it's not limited by how we do something. It's limited by the fact of whether we're doing it or not. If you do it, you get results, period. Now, what we find industry-wide is that about 1 out of 10 people, when you ask them, are you at all open to it? Out of 10 people who say, yeah, I might be, one of them will join your business. That's industry-wide. That's all different products. Everything from, special prickless blood sugar tester devices to nutritional supplements to, supplemental auto insurance. I mean, whatever it is, even hard to sell stuff. Legal services. It's about 1 out of 10 on average. Well, my observation is that with IXQ, it's been significantly higher, but let's not go atypical. Let's go typical. If it's 1 out of 10, how many people are you going to need to talk to get one new member signed up in your business? At least 10, right? Now, it's possible that a certain percentage of them may not at all be open to looking at something like that. And I'm just looking at business partners now. I'm not looking at customers. The customer flow is different. If they're not open to it, fine. What are you paying for cable right now? Totally different line of questioning. Okay, you just default them to the product. So realistically and conservatively, 15 contacts, 15 communication cycles, 15 runs through our process, our series of questions that we do usually with a text message to qualify them and just find out will result in at least 10 people who say, yeah, I might be open, depends what it is. So out of about every 15 that you have a communication with, you'll have one new partner in your business. Well, this makes things really simple, doesn't it? I mean, if I want 5 new partners in my business, I need to get 75 people through the process. It's just a numbers game. You see? Now, once you get inside the team site, and you get through stage one, we'll explain this process more and getting a list together and all this. I don't want you paying attention to that right now. What I want you paying attention to is the simplicity here. This is not a question of talent or charisma or massive social influence or luck. This is a question of you following the process and making a commitment to do what we need you to do. If you do what we need you to do, you'll win. The group will win. We'll all get paid. Now, sometimes people have this consideration, well, it takes a long time to build something. No, it doesn't. That's false. If you have that idea, it's false. I don't know where you got it. Broke friends, broke family that you were raised by, broke school teachers, and school teachers are broke. Successful entrepreneurs don't become school teachers. So right off the bat, the average person, at least in the U.S., is at a huge disadvantage because they're being given ideas the whole time of their developmental years that are false. It does not take a long time to build something. Period. What do we want to do? We want you to bring in one new member every single day. That's 7 per week. One new member every single day. And I'll bring in one new member every single day. Yesterday I brought in 3. But if you bring in 1, that's great. That works. That's all we need. Bring in one new member every single day. Your people who come in, what do we expect of them? To bring in one new member every single day. Why do we expect that? Because if they do that, their life is going to change drastically and rapidly. If you bring in one new member every day, your life will change drastically for the better and rapidly. In order to bring in one new member per day, what do we need to do? Well, we need to have at least 15 of these communication cycles that you're going to learn. How long does that take? Less than 15 minutes. If we assume you're slow and we say you only move at 1/4 the speed of everyone else in the world and it takes you an entire hour, would you be willing to put a dedicated 1 hour a day every single day in to get to the point where you never have to worry about money again? Is that worth it for you? Are you willing to prioritize your own fortune and your own future and your kids and grandkids and your legacy and everyone else you know who can benefit from this above your forced need to show up to work, to get ready, get dressed, get in the shower in the morning, fight traffic? A lot of people spend more time literally in traffic just getting to work than they will spend on their business on a daily basis. This is very sad. I'm trying to help you get your thinking right here. The rewards come to people who create them. It's not an accident. It's not something you wait for. If you get out there and create it, you will get the rewards. The bar is very low. 15 communication cycles a day should be more than adequate if you're doing it properly. You want to bring in 2 a day, bump this to 30. You want to bring a 3 a day, bump it to 45. Maybe that won't start from day one. Maybe there's a lag as people think and, deal with their kids and wait till after work and stuff like that. Nothing's perfect. But the point I'm trying to make to you here is if you follow the instructions and you get to work, you're going to get results. The bar's very low. We ask you to bring in 1 per day. 1 per day is, I would say, on a typical grading scale, I would say that's probably about a C-, in terms of productivity, about a C- or a D+. It's not very much. It doesn't take much time. But you'd be amazed at the number of people who are unwilling to have even 1 communication cycle in a day. If I hired you and I said, I'm going to pay you $300 a day, and all you have to do is bring me 3 new members per day, and in order to do that, you're going to have to talk to, I don't know, what if I said 100? You're going to have to find 100 people per day. I don't care if you go door to door. I don't care if you call the people that you know and get them to connect you with other people and get them to connect you with other people. Hey, who do you know who has cable TV? Could you connect me with 5 people who have cable TV? You'd start in the morning. You'd leave in the afternoon. You'd be here 8 or 9 hours. And I'd say you got to get 3 a day. The first week you have a grace period, but by the end of the first week, I want 3 a day coming in. If you bring in 4 on Monday and 2 on Tuesday, that's okay. But at the end of the week, we need 21 new members, and for doing that, I'm going to pay you $2,100 a week. That's $300 per day. Most of you would work yourselves to death to make that happen. You'd be showing up early. You'd be pounding the coffee. You'd be hustling. You'd be taking short lunches because you'd want to lock in your $300 per day, and you'd be willing to do that. However, sometimes a person will start a business like this, and because they don't have someone telling them where to be and when to be there and saying that they're going to pay them a certain amount, they don't treat it like that at all. Well, how about you love and respect yourself and your family enough to care enough about your condition to at least treat it with as much vigor, as much tenacity as you would treat a job? Because I got news for you guys. If you just bring in one person a day and make sure your team understands this and they bring in one person a day, you're going to make a hell of a lot more than $300 a day. Like, not even in the same universe. Are you with me so far? Have you made a decision that you're going to do this? You're not going to be hopping around. Let me try this different one. Let me try this different one next week. Oh, next week, let me try this different one. Oh, that's not working. No, it's not the opportunity that's not working. It's you. You have to make a commitment to doing what we show you to do on a daily basis. And if you do that, you're going to see results. You're going to start seeing actually more results than what I'm describing here, because over time, the number of interested people builds up. And you start seeing 4 or 5 days we have 4, 5, 6 new members join, stuff like that. Well, I just want to keep it simple. We just want you to bring in 1 per day. Day 0, it's just you. First 24 hours, now you have a team of 2 because you brought in 1 per day. There's you and your first business partner. First business partner will help you onboard them. They'll go through this process, the same process. They'll be on the same page, or they won't. If they're not, there's nothing we can do with them. We just have to replace them, I guess. It's hard for me to comprehend somebody coming through this process and not getting to the point where they can hardly sleep at night because they're so excited. This is a very rare combination of product that people want, that they're already paying for. We save them money. We give them a better product with a compensation plan that allows us to earn as a team, that pays very well. Associated with a mega trend that we just have to step into. You guys realize that over 30 million people moved from cable and satellite to streaming TV in 2018? You realize there's over 780 million people in the world still paying for cable and satellite? In the U.S., is around 120 million people still paying for cable and satellite. The market is absolutely huge. Do you realize that there's a lot of countries in the world that don't even have the infrastructure, that they have digital cable yet? They're so far behind. I mean, they're 20, 30 years behind. They're just now putting that in, and the number of people getting on digital cable is actually still increasing every year, despite the fact, that tens of millions are moving from cable to streaming TV. The market is so incredibly huge, you can't even comprehend it. But if we take that current number of 780 million people and we secure just 0.5% of that market, that's 3.9 million people in our organization. That's a lot. If you look at the numbers for companies like Hulu and Netflix, that is not at all outside the realm of reality. In fact, it's on the low end. But we give them much more for much less money. If you do what we show you to do, and you make a commitment to do it, and you do it, we're going to be the leader in this entire market. None of these other streaming companies, these types like ours, I'm not talking about Netflix and Hulu. Those are different. Netflix and Hulu, you add 50 channels in HBO and Showtime, you're paying $80 a month. There really isn't any competition. But these private streaming companies like ours, most of them are illegal. They don't have permissions. The rest of them are horribly run. They don't pay people. They can't keep track of their genealogy. You have a very unique company here that's doing everything right. Day 1, first 24 hours, your team of one, which is you, becomes two because you're willing to bring in one per day. Within the first 48 hours, 2 becomes 4. Within the first 72 hours, that 4 becomes 8. Why? Because everybody's doing what we're asking them to do, which is simply to build their own business for their own good, for their family's own good. Within 4 days, that's a team of 16. Within 5 days, that's a team of 32. What have you done so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You brought in 5 partners in 5 days. Not very much. On day 6, when you bring your 6th partner in and everybody else is doing the same thing, that's a team of 64 people in 6 days. By day 7, that's 128. By day 8, it's 256. By day 9, it's 512. Again, everybody simply bringing in one new member every day. You want a target? Success comes from target attainment. You set a target and you hit it no matter what. You promote until you get one new sign up that day. Then you're done for the day. If you get 2, great. Now you're ahead of the game. Next day, you still shoot for your 1. It's not linear. You may reach out to 15 people today, 30 people today, and not one of them joins today, but the person who joined today you talked to 3 days ago. We're just going for averages here, guys. It's simple. At the end of 10 days, that's over 1,000 people. 11 days, that's 2,000. 12 days, it's over 4,000. By day 15, you have a team of 32,768 people. Why? Because every person is just bringing in 1 per day. Here's some of these leaders in this profession. Oh, you got a team of 980,000 people. You think, my God, he must be just a sales guru. No. Over the course of 12 years, he brought in 180 people total himself. It's not that much. Just an example. Everyone brings in 1 per day. Everyone brings in 1 per day. If you've been here 3 days and you brought in 0, if I were you, I would be absolutely freaking out and eating dinner at my computer or on my phone, and I would be busting my butt to catch up. This is your business. Sometimes people that don't have another income stream, it works out better because they don't have a choice but to build their business. There's a point there, guys, where you look at it and you go, well, I'm behind my targets, but no big deal. I think I'll just drink beer and watch football tonight. Well, that's the person who's going to stay broke. The person who really wants to improve the conditions for their family in their life, who really and truly is serious about changing these conditions, will prioritize their business, their fortune above other things. I'm 3 days in. I have 0 members signed up. I need to absolutely work my tail off today, tomorrow, until I get caught up. Why is it that, people like me, we come in, we're like the number one, every company? It's not because I'm smart. I don't even like doing this stuff. I'm not suited for this. I'm not a salesperson. I don't like going out to parties. I don't like group events. I'm not comfortable with walking up to people in the grocery store and pitching them. I don't do any of that crap. Never have. I outwork everybody. And the funny thing is, in this profession, if I work a solid hour per day, I'm outworking everybody. If you understood the small amount of work you had to do to actually make this happen, it would you'd shake your head. What I'm asking you for here, guys, is to make a commitment to yourself and your family that you're actually going to do what needs to be done to make this happen. By the way, just the residual portion of the comp plan, not including the fast starts, not including the customer commissions, not including the lifestyle bonus, not including the rank advance bonus, not including the matching bonuses. Just using a 5% calculation on the residual portion of this, doing the math, this is about $65,000 a month right here, just in the residual recurring portion. Now, I have to say, IXQTV doesn't guarantee or imply any specific earnings or income, and you should refer specifically to the company documents on the comp plan. This is just my viewpoint on it. In 15 days, guys. What's not true about this? Each person can't find one person per day who's paying for cable? That's not true. Is the math wrong? No, math's right. If you double something every day, it gets big pretty fast. How would you like to be up to a $65,000 a month recurring income within 15 days? Is there any reason that can't happen? There's no logical reason. The only reason is that you, whoever you are, because you may be you and you may be the person who just came into your team, or some guy who came in 4 levels down from you listening to this. Somewhere along the line, somebody like you says, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm more interested in, whatever it is you do than actually buckling down and building my business. Yeah, I was going to build the business. I started 3 weeks ago, and I put a total of 15 total minutes of work in so far. I guess it doesn't work. No, my friend, it's you who's not doing the work. Sometimes people start a business like this, and they're like, well, I wanted to do it so I could have freedom. Well, okay, that's good, but would it be too much trouble to actually build the income up before we decide to take a vacation? Hey, why don't you give me a couple years, right? Let's just get a couple years and a bust in our butt. We'll make some millionaires. You can get your income built up, and then you can take a vacation. Then you can knock it down to an hour a day or 5 hours a week or whatever you want to do. Now, if you're working a full-time job and you only have an hour a day to do this or 2 hours a day, fine. It's plenty of time. That's more than enough time to accomplish this. That's more than enough time to accomplish 1 new member per day. An hour per day is more than enough time to accomplish 1 new member per day. If you're working during the hour and not simply flipping through, Facebook posts about, whatever. You have to really get this, and you have to make sure your team gets this. This is why I keep going on and on with it, because somewhere along the line, somebody's idea starts to shift. They begin to realize, oh, it's not just about what I do, it's about what my whole team does. You start to think in terms of expectations for your team. Say, look, you're here to make money, you are, great. So we have a game that we're playing, it has certain rules, and we expect you to play by those rules and achieve certain things. And all we're going to ask you for is enough work to achieve 1 new member per day. You don't have to do any selling, any presenting, any explaining, any convincing, any persuading. You don't have to handle any objections. You don't have to worry about closing, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. You don't have to do any webinars. All the content's done for you. All you have to do is find other human beings to communicate with and ask them if they would be open to looking at something. If they are, you give them the something to look at. If once they've done it, it's either not for them or they want to move forward. It's as simple as that. It's easy. If you do it. See, I expect you to be successful. I expect you to be productive. And it could be, there's a lot of different people listening to this, guys. Some of these ideas aren't specifically targeted to you. But some of you guys, you've gone through your life, however old you are, maybe you're in your early 20s, and nobody's ever demanded anything of you. You've been told you can have anything you want just because you want it. Hey, you're in high school and, you did poorly on an exam and you went and cried to the teacher and the teacher gave you an A just because he felt bad for you. You were in a soccer league where there was no winners and losers. Nobody's been demanding anything of you. Well, see, I care enough about you to actually demand something of you, because the fact of the matter is every single one of you listening to this is far more than capable enough to bring in 5 new members a day. But I got to give you something that's real to you just starting out. So if we ask you for 1, most people go, yeah, I guess I could do that. Well, gee, I don't want to inconvenience you, and I don't want to encourage you too much to actually build your business so your family can have a better life. And maybe one day you can retire without trying to survive on Social Security for $1,100 a month or whatever it is. Sometimes people resent me because I expect things of them. I'm doing the expectation until you can do it for yourself. When you can hold yourself to the same standard that I'm holding you to, then you don't need me anymore. You just do it. Then you start having expectations for your people. When your new people come in, I would say, all right, so here's the first thing. You want to make money? You do? Great. Are you seriously want to do, or are you just telling me you want to do? Great. What are you going to do with it? You want to give your family a better life? Really? You really want to make this happen? Okay, if you really want to make it happen, all you got to do is do what we show you to do. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And you bring in one new member a day, which ain't very much. Get your team to duplicate the same thing, and your life will change drastically and rapidly. Most of you would be pleased to death with 1/10 of this result. If it took you 150 days to do this, or in 15 days it was only $6,000 a month, you'd be so overjoyed you'd do backflips. Well, that's not good enough. We need to start increasing the size of what we're expecting, the size of our think. You will not do beyond what it is you think. When your team comes in, what are you going to do for them to help them achieve, to win here? Let's start focusing on that. Let's stop worrying about you, and let's start worrying about setting an example for your team. How can I tell my team I want them to bring in one per day if I'm not doing it? Oh, it's a lot of pressure, isn't it? Oh boy, that's scary. You know what's scary for me? Is showing up for a job at Home Depot every day. I've never worked there, but just as an example, no offense to Home Depot. Knowing that I'm never going to get ahead ever. I'm going to get the same pay every week. Actually less, because the rates of increase of pay don't keep up with inflation. To me, that's scary as hell. I'm going to be a slave until I retire, and then I'm going to try to survive on 30% or 40% of what I couldn't live on before. That's pretty damn scary. I don't find playing the game, hey, who can I save money and give better TV? Hey, you want to save some money? Hey, you want to save some money? Oh, you're going to love it. Hey, you can try it for free. How many people can I communicate with? To me, that's not scary. To me, making 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 a month, that's not scary. But if you hate yourself, if you don't respect yourself, you may do things to restrain yourself from accomplishing that. These things don't grow themselves, guys. I know what you're capable of. I want it more for you than you want it for you. And I'm going to ask you to do just a little bit. And that little bit is one new member per day. Whatever it takes to get one new member per day, and it doesn't take that much. So if you can get on the same page with me and you're ready to make some drastic changes in your life, it's time to move forward. And there may be, I don't know, another video on this page or something, real brief video about some of the resources. But then we want to get into stage one, and we really want to learn that process. You want to communicate with the person who brought you in. Communicate with your upline leader. If there's anything not clear about that, you want to get with them. Do you need to practice it? Do you need to take notes? Do you need to drill it till you get it down? When it comes to building your list, do you need help getting a list together? And so forth. We got to look at these little component parts and really making sure we hit the target on each one of them. Because you add up all these little targets, and before you know it, you have a drastic change in your life. And it really is simple, guys. All I want you to do right now is make the decision that you're going to do whatever it takes. That it's not going to be like it's been half a dozen times before with other things you've tried where you started but you never started. You never made the commitment to actually do what you need to do. Now we've made it easy. We've given you something everybody wants. We've given you no rejection, no pressure, no convincing, persuading, arguing, no selling. And all you have to do is be willing to put your time in daily, focused, dedicated on the one thing that's going to produce income for you, which is communicating and qualifying and inviting other human beings. You You contact, communicate, qualify, invite. You contact, you communicate with them, you qualify them by letting them answer your question, and then if they're open to it, you invite them to look at some info. After they have, you follow up and ask them if it's not for them, or would you like to move forward and learn more. We don't bug them, we don't pressure them, we don't argue with them, we don't ask them, oh, why don't you want to? Forget all that crap. Just focus on what we show you in stage 1, and you'll win. Are you ready? Are you ready to make a drastic change for you and your family? Because this is as easy as it's going to get, guys. Now's the time. It's your time. Right now, this is your time. It's time for you. You laying awake at night. Something's got to happen. Something's got to change. Something's got to come along so I can change my life. I'm tired of worrying about paying my bills. I can't handle this debt, and everything's so awful. And what's going to happen? Please, God, send me some way to handle this problem. Guess what? This is it. This is it right here. If you do what we show you to do and you get to work and you make a commitment, you do it every single day, all those problems are going to go away. Period. Welcome to the team. I'm honored to have you here. I'm honored. Now honor yourself and your family. Let's learn how to do this, and let's get to work. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next section.